Yo le voy a decir como
Yes, he's not going to be. He's coming.
yo creo que el 99% de las veces son bien la energía no se ven, yeah, I thought that part of the video was clear, pero parece que mentiroso. Mentiroso. Sí. If you need anything, call me. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I'm gonna call this meeting to order in a minute. Just ask a couple, rules. For all those that have phones that are on ringers, please put them on vibrate. And also the rules of the meeting is that there's to be, no outbursts from anybody, any type of outburst. We'll pause for the meeting and, those individuals will be asked to be removed from the, meeting. Anybody that's having outbursts on a line on the Zoom will be zapped out. That's all we ask for, so we have a nice, working meeting here. With that being said, I'm going to call the meeting to order now. It is 7:11 p.m.
order, Mr. President. Well, the point of order that I'm actually, the point of order that I'm actually
Hold
bringing
on,
here.
why are we hearing somebody else?
Somebody is on in the Zoom, we have the TV behind you.
Alright. We're calling the meeting to order now, it's 7:11 PM, we have present
Then you rest it.
Martin Lebovitz, Regina, are you here?
Guillermo Sanford.
Okay,
I'm here.
Who is that here?
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
If you say your name from the record, please. We go by the rules, guys.
Regina, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
All right, thank you. We've established a quorum of directors. The proof of notice of meeting has been posted, and the approval of the last meeting.
Point of order before you proceed, parliamentary procedure, please.
Go ahead.
Exhibit 1. This is from the association's document, or covenant, which actually gives the board of directors the right to actually adjudicate fines to residents as applicable for breaching the rules and regulations. This is from our association document, if anyone wishes to see it. That's exhibit 1. Exhibit number 2, on January 15th of 2020, you, sir, Mr. Martin Milovich, you were charged by the board of directors, of which some of the members are here who are actually past members or current members, but the board of directors, upon the recommendation that they received from the grievance committees, they approved the fines that were actually passed on to you, Unit 1518, sir, and that was on January 15th at that board meeting. That's exhibit number 1. And these are from the rules and regulations that myself and everyone here in this association has to abide by. Okay? Exhibit number 3, for anyone who wishes to see it. This is a copy of Mr. Marvin Milovich's ledger. You all have access to it. These are association records. On the ledger, it shows that you were fined $100, and due to the fact that the management office attempted on many occasions to get compliance from you to have the issue resolved, you failed to resolve the issue, so the fine went to the maximum of $1,000. That was on February 27th, the total violation. Having said that, of these exhibits that we have here, as you, sir, are well aware, that none of us in this association are entitled to be a member of the board of directors if there are any delinquencies with the associations or arrears. The final exhibit I have is that of Mr. Eli Dinamis. He was expelled most promptly for having some delinquencies, and this is your exhibit, sir, of you having had an exhibit that has not been adjudicated as raised by the board of directors. Thank you, sir.
If you are on the Zoom call, please mute your phone or mute your computer,
You tell
please.
everybody, I'll put it there.
Mr. Warren, there was a fine imposed against Mr. Leibowitz in connection with
a violation, it related to a dog, if I'm not mistaken. There was circumstances with regard to the dog that came to our attention after the imposition of fine, that we in turn made a recommendation to the board with regard to that fine, given that dog's status. The board, I understand, voted not at a meeting, but made a decision amongst themselves via emails to waive the fine that was imposed in order to protect the association from the possibility of other claims being made against the association with regard to that animal. So, even though it wasn't ratified at a board meeting, it's my understanding from conversations with Udi, and I believe Udi verified it with communications from each board member, that given the circumstances of that dog at the time, the fine was considered to be waived, and it should not have been imposed to begin with. So,
Mr. Blanche, thank you so much.
Excuse me.
Oh, let him speak.
Excuse me one second.
Go ahead, Daddy.
yes,
As a
sir.
board member, I did a little bit of research.
Yes, sir.
All I want, we're not going to waste the time. I'm tired. I'm not going to lose my energy and everything. I did a little bit of research, and I saw the email what Terry sent to the board meeting. She asked them, and I can forward the email and show you. She asked them, what's their opinion? How we proceed? And we have to do it at the next board meeting. Now, my question to you, you're the legal team of this association. It's all good, maybe they waive it, they don't waive it. Legally, I want to know, legally, if this penalty is waived, and according to this minute, if Mr. Leibovitz owe money to the association, legally, if we need to proceed and everything legally at this point, and I learned from Mr. Leibovitz, the last board meeting, we're going cut and dry. The same thing. Eli was moved. We listen to you as a legal opinion. Eli is out. In this moment, I want to know legally if Marvin Leibovitz owed money.
You know, yes, I would.
Excuse me.
Let him answer, please.
The circumstances between Eli and Marvin are different. First,
Forget about Eli.
right, so let's start with that.
Forget about Eli.
So the circumstances regarding the monetary obligation are different, so we cannot compare them with apples and oranges. I also, given the fact that the way you're asking me the question, I have Marvin here, and for me to answer the question bluntly to the board, would require me to give up certain legally protected advice that I would have to have Marvin excluded. We'd have to have a closed board meeting for them. So you reviewed, there was an email on March 5th, I believe it is dated, and this is it, from my office to Terry at the time,
Okay.
and we gave our opinion.
You gave your opinion.
At that time,
I didn't see the opinions. I saw the letter that Terry sent, and if I think they misinform you guys because all the dates is completely different.
Well,
So I want to know,
the,
I want to know, forget about why it's being opposed. We have what do you call it? Signed minutes by his friends, two of them sitting over here. Three of the last board members still over here. Here is the penalty. I want to.
I know there was a fine imposed then.
Correct.
I know that.
I want to ask what's to waive the fee. What is the procedure?
It should have been, it was, as I understand it, that if you're on the Zoom, could you please mute your phone or mute your computer, please? It's very disruptive to those of us that are here trying to have a discussion to keep hearing your background noise, please. So, what I understand the board tried to do by email was waive the fine that was imposed for the reasons that were stated in our legal opinion. Now, that decision, let me finish, please. That decision should have been ratified at a board meeting. It's my understanding that it was not.
Okay.
So, you can make the argument that since it was not ratified, okay, you can argue that it isn't valid until it's ratified.
Correct.
But then you're also opening the door to a whole bunch of other arguments that could be made in connection with that. So I don't want to get too much into the details of it, Danny, because it would require me to divulge too much legal advice in an open forum.
Okay. I propose to close the meeting right now because I'm a board member over here and I'm trying to protect all of them. And as he has the rights,
We have the right.
they have the rights.
Exactly.
So now we're going to take the list who will protect you.
Judge has a question then.
Who is protecting and what? So if we're not clear, if we cannot get a clear answer over
I
it,
can give you a clear answer, I can give you and the other board members a clear answer without Mark
okay?
and without everybody else.
Not a problem.
Before,
Yes, Judge.
thank you. I was at that meeting, that happened January the 15th of 2020.
At the meeting at which the fine was
The meeting was
imposed.
leveled.
Correct.
The person who was violating our rules and regulations, against our rules and regulations, had told that meeting that he besmirched our manager and didn't trust and was gonna forward information to come into compliance. A year later, February of 2021, that fine had not been paid. Was not paid in March of 2021, was not paid in April of 2021, was not paid in May, June, or July, before mysteriously the fine was removed. The fine was removed. Now, when you go to that meeting, I want you to explain, as an officer of the court, why somebody gets to violate our rules and regulations, gets assessed a fine, doesn't comply with his legal obligations, and then, like a judge, would take a ticket, rip it off, and throw it in the garbage. That, you know, doesn't happen in the court of law. And I don't mean to pontificate, but you have your obligations with the Florida Bar. And that obligation includes protecting our integrity here at this association. As Orwell said very famously, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Being a board member does not entitle you to violate the rules we all live and go by. And at the time that that fine was dismissed, erased, without due process of law, without proper notification, it was at the amount of $1,000. Not inconsequential. Especially given the circumstances where this association under Mr. Leibowitz has cost us over $1.2 million in lawsuits involving pets. And I have the documentation because you were kind enough to provide it to me several years ago with all the settlements. So if you're going to have that meeting, I'd like the board members to ask that question. Why do some members here get their debts erased? And by the way, if this is correct, and it's documented, he was ineligible to run for office.
Paperwork compliance was sent in a timely manner, that goes back to 2020. Based on your recommendation of receiving that paperwork, the board stood back, and they removed $100, they removed the, whatever the fine was at the time.
The board didn't remove it.
Well,
The
the board did not have a meeting to ratify
Correct.
the removal of the fine. But there is evidence, Udi, you're on the line, right? There is evidence, there is record of every board member agreeing to waive that fine outside of a meeting, which, by the way, I've already specified should have been ratified.
on the board.
So, I don't have a problem having a closed meeting with the board members to explain exactly why our opinion was given and why we.
I'm not worried about your opinion, I respect your opinion. I do respect your opinion. And I take your opinion. Let's assume I didn't see it, I wasn't a board member. I respect your opinion. But your guys, you're not the board.
Correct.
The board has to make the decision. And when they ask the question by the manager, she specifically said, I need your answers, so we need to proceed on the next board meeting. I wasn't in the board, they failed to do it. So if we looking what Terry asked them and what they answered, they didn't comply with her request.
Right,
So I want to know, and again, he have a rights, I have a rights, they have a rights. Now, we're going to get the lawsuit or from him or from them. So it's both ways. I want to know legally if he still owe money. And if he still owe money, we can proceed, we can pay it or we can go to a meeting and he can come back. But at this moment, I want to know if he's legally owe money or not. And we need a letter and the instruction from the manager, they have to apply to everything. She specifically said, we need to ratify it and we need to bring it to a board meeting. They failed to do it. I didn't fail to do it. But I tell you one thing, if it was me, today they jumped into me. What they did to me for the last 2 years, I've been nice. That's what I'm giving them back. Now, the rule is going to apply to everybody. Who is Mr. Leibovitz? They have 70 or 80 towns over there. Telling in a board meeting, and meet the candidate, he doesn't trust doesn't trust the office, the management, doesn't want to give his private. And since he was a president, we have a straight line to your guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who buy for this? Why everybody has to give it to the office? I mean, we have rules, we have to apply it. This is the game. As long as I'm in the board, the game is stopped. All I want to know, legally, if not, I want to close the meeting, I want to protect myself.
Agreed.
Hold on, Marvin. As I stated earlier, the fine, in order to have been properly waived, should have been ratified by the board at a duly noticed open meeting. Since that didn't happen, okay, the waiver of the fine is arguably not applicable until it is approved or ratified at a board meeting. Now, with that in mind, if you follow the course of that logic, then you get to the position now where you say, well, if the fine wasn't properly waived, then it stayed as a monetary obligation until the waiver is ratified. And if that's the case, he shouldn't have been qualified to be on the board because it would have been a delinquency that exceeded 90 days, when he ran for the board. And technically speaking, he shouldn't be here now, technically speaking, sitting on the board. Now, that would require the board to take the position that that fine is an enforceable fine, which is exactly the opinion we were discussing with the board back in 2015. And it's exactly the reason why the board, albeit not at a board meeting, decided to waive the fine. So, we will give the board in a closed meeting the same recommendation with regard to the fine, and the board will have to make a decision about whether it will like to ratify the waiver or not ratify the waiver, recognizing that there may be implications to not ratifying the waiver. Now, that's a legal and a business decision for the board to make. It's my job to tell you what the potential consequences are. You guys, once you are advised as a board, you make the decision. But I can't get into the details in an open forum. Because I would be divulging to him legal advice. I would be divulging to him legal advice upon which we may have a conflict, and I also may be breaching the lower client privilege by doing so in an open meeting. So I hope you understand that.
I tell you what I understand.
Excuse me, Dan.
Hold on, you asked me a little talk. You know what I understand? We are in the middle.
Sure.
We are in a gray area. I don't know. I'm not confident.
Okay.
I'm not confident. Maybe people over here can tell me what to do and how to do. This gentleman, his name is Aaron Barr. When the case was with Marvin, and we have everything in Army, he didn't ask the board and the people why Marvin sent his request to the board, to the legals, and who paid for it? Nobody answered. So I have obligation to these people. I have nothing to do personal over it. I don't feel comfortable to continue with it till this resolved. Now, the other board is gone. So, according to what you say, the obligation to remove this penalty is an outboard right now.
In my opinion, the decision of whether to ratify that.
They didn't do it, the last board didn't do it, so it's coming to us now.
It could be an improperly taken board action, because board actions, in order to be proper, should have been done at an open meeting, properly noticed. So even though there was a, let's call it a poll or a vote of the board, it wasn't proper. It wasn't proper in the sense that it didn't take place at an open meeting, and that's why, to your point, the waiver, in my opinion, is not a valid waiver until it is ratified at a meeting.
Okay, excuse me. If the waiver is not valid, I'm going to motion.
Quantificating.
A motion to remove Marvin to the vote from the board till we fix it.
Well,
Motion is irrelevant at this meeting, it's not on the agenda. And,
Well, I mean, it's
Roberta,
It is relevant.
Excuse me, Roberta, let me just.
It is relevant. You are not the president, sir. It is relevant. You have no comment in this matter.
The 2000, whatever, January, February, I don't know the date at this time, but it was over a year and a half ago, regarding that matter, where they resolved it and waived the fine based on having, based on your law firm having my private information. Okay?
I don't have any objection to the client. I don't want to know your information. I don't want to know, but I'm telling you right now, based on what you did, we're going to have the rules over it, exactly what you do, and maybe we have to make a feel of it, and everybody ever know, I'm not interested to do it. What you did, everybody ever likes to do. What you did, everybody ever likes to do.
Let me address that. Everybody does have the right to send their information
Okay.
in that
You
regard.
have a door, I don't, you have a door, I don't have a door. Why we have to pay for
Or
you?
you're the only one who can speak here?
I'm not yet,
Okay.
I'm not yet, sorry.
The reason I sent my information so that you all know directly to the attorney is because I didn't trust the manager with private information, knowing how she stole all the data and information from here at Delvista and her prior positions.
Let me
Mr.
tell you something.
Lizzo, do you believe that I trust the manager when I brought my
Let
personal
me answer
information?
this.
Gentlemen, one at a time. One at a time.
Let me answer you.
One at a time.
Had it been a different manager, I would have furnished the information.
Let me answer you.
Okay, so I said.
Let me answer you.
When I received it, I
Let me
received it
answer
directly
you.
to the
Let me
attorney.
answer you. I answer
Hold on a
you.
minute, hold on a minute.
Okay, so continue.
Just
I
let me
answer
say
you.
this.
I answer you.
The manager doesn't make a decision anyway regarding those accommodations, okay? It goes to the attorney, the manager sends it to the attorney checks to see if all the information is complied with, and then they tell the management, yay or nay, okay? That's all there is to it.
I am the
I do not want my
again.
personal information
Okay.
with that specific manager. That's clear as day.
What about it? I answer you number one. Number one, I don't trust you. So that's number one. Let's finish with this. I don't trust you for nothing.
Good,
That's okay, you don't trust me either.
right.
Number two,
Why you will not us?
if you tell me right now,
Why would you have a waive the fine and we don't have the right to have a fine waived?
I didn't waive the fine. I'm not the one who waived.
With
the
full
fine.
transparency for the association members.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, we can be courteous.
the board should be waived the
I
fine.
waived it. I didn't
You
waive
just
it.
said, simply, you just said, the manager has nothing to do with it. So let me tell you, the board people answer the manager, not to the lawyer.
Danny, would you see still before
The
the minutes?
board-
Mr. Blanch,
I did
I understood what you're
I
talking
did not
about.
waive it.
Mr. Leibowitz, let me finish. It was not ratified. Just like if a decision or pleading is not ratified in the court of law, it didn't happen. We transitioned to another board. We have two issues here. That Mr. Leibowitz may be illegally sitting on the board because he wasn't qualified when he ran. And number two, if that is the case, he should not be sitting on the board. And the board should be advised of what legal actions they can take. Without him, of course, because this involves his conflict. You forgive me. I don't know how long you've been an attorney. I've been an attorney for 33 years. If it didn't happen, if it wasn't ratified, it doesn't exist legally. No matter what arguments you can make. Just like if you don't lodge an objection, as you well know, it goes on appeal, the appellate court's gonna say, so sorry, you didn't make the objection. So my humble suggestion to you, before we degenerate in an argument of he said, she said, I said, I was told, is could you be kind enough to offer them the opportunity to have an attorney-client privilege meeting and refer to the matters that you can't refer on the record?
I believe I have.
Okay, can they do that?
Yeah.
Before we proceed, because if you proceed with business as of now,
I say,
okay, and this gentleman is not qualified, and they, like Eddie, he was illegally elected to the board, then he's gotta leave the board.
Roberto, I have no fine on the ledger. It was removed at that time, and it was removed by that board, okay? So why don't you call that board back into session, okay, and have them ratify it?
Mr. Blanche, why are you here?
I mean, this shows a fine it shows on March 13th, the removal of that fine.
March 13th of what,
No.
2019, 2020?
2020.
Okay?
So, you know, the point is that the ledger reflected a removed fine. The question that Danny and Mr. Warren are hinging on is the validity of the removal of that fine. And I don't believe there is any record to substantiate that the fine or the waiver of the fine was ratified. There, to my understanding, there was or were communications outside of the board meeting by board members, perhaps to the then manager, advising of their inclination to have the fine waived based upon the opinion we had given to the board. But that decision,
I received an official letter.
well, I don't know what you received, but the point is that what you received may have been a letter that said the fine was removed, but without a waiver of the fine having been officially ratified at the meeting, there was no official board action to remove the fine. Now, the board could now retroactively ratify that.
It wouldn't be this board, it would be the previous board.
There wouldn't be a previous one because there is no previous board. A previous board can't be reconvened.
The letter that I received was in February 2019, and the fine actually came on in March of 2019. So the letter I received
I don't know.
was at the end of January of 2019 or the first week of February.
I don't know that to be the case. First of all, because I'm not looking at the letter you're referring to.
I have that documentation.
Secondly, I don't know that to be the case because the opinion that we gave to the then property manager for the board was dated March 3rd, 2020. And at the time, it was our understanding that the fine was still active. So, at the time, on March 3rd of 2020, it appeared that the fine was still on the ledger, and this ledger supports that because on March 13th is where you have the entry that says fine removed. Now, again,
The fine was removed, and I don't have any, balance on any ledger.
but that begs the question, was the fine properly removed or not? You know, was it removed by a clerical error? Was it removed by somebody who made a unilateral decision, i.e. the property manager? Was it removed by someone that may not have known that the proper steps required to have a fine waived had not been
I have
taken?
an official letter that came from either your office or their office, I don't know where, and I have.
Mr. Blanche, why are you here?
Excuse me 1 second, I give him something to wish.
This question has been sitting there, and then he need,
Okay, I give him more evidence. I'm showing him the letter of the
But you know
manager.
what, the case is clear. Why you were sitting here like idiots and wasting and listening to this gentleman who is protecting the president?
Exactly.
and that's why
And he's working for him,
that's the
not
reason
for
why
us.
I'm asking Mr. Blanche, please to answer me and stop ignoring my question. Why are you here, Mr.
This is
Blanche?
obvious.
Please
It's
answer the
so
members.
obvious.
Why are you
You are
here?
not working for the association,
Please.
sir.
Mr. Warren.
Yes, sir.
Please, with all due respect. I'm answering questions that.
I just give him, please let him read what I give him.
That a board member has asked me. You stood up at the commencement of this meeting with your point of order.
Yes.
I recognize or advise the president to recognize your point of order.
Yes.
Okay, you've been given your floor and you continue to have it. Okay, I did not say I wasn't gonna answer your question. But the point is that if I don't answer your question immediately at the second and the moment that you ask it, okay, it either means that you need to have a little bit of patience and let me get to it because you've been afforded the respect. to
I don't
present-
believe anyone here
Mr. Warren,
doesn't want to get an
Mr.
answer.
Warren,
They
I asked you a
are-
question. Are you gonna?
So I'm waiting. Go
Yes,
ahead.
exactly.
Go ahead. Let's
So,
go ahead, please,
do me
go
a
ahead.
favor. We're not here to bend and to cave into every one of your
Please,
wishes.
sir, go ahead. We are waiting. Let's not waste our time. You're costing us money. Money is time. We're paying for this.
And to answer your question, I'm here because I was asked by my client to be here.
Yes.
Who is your kind?
Me, I asked him to be.
letter from the association.
Marvin, I have no problem
We'll
with
be
it.
glad to present the letter.
I have no problem with it. I want to know legally if you owe money, if you don't owe money. That's all I
The
want
letter
to
says I
know.
don't owe any money,
Okay.
and the letter says
I couldn't
the,
find no letters. I couldn't find no
well, I have a
letters.
copy of it.
I couldn't find no letters. We have a board member over there. I can read you what his opinion about it.
I received the letter, and I'll produce it.
Okay?
I can't recall whether a letter came from the attorney's office or
The
came from the
only thing
manager,
is
or I
that
have a
it's
letter.
lunch, I didn't see your opinion. And it specifically said we need to do it. So, now, if the board didn't listen to the manager, that's their decision.
And I believe
If the the manager doesn't make the agendas, the board makes the agendas.
Roberto, I recall, if I'm not mistaken, from memory, that the, initial communication to the board and to the manager came from Nicole. Okay, and then afterwards,
I want to know.
excuse me, I'm not done.
Okay, finish.
The initial,
Okay.
recommendation to the board and manager came from Nicole, and then afterwards, probably within a few days or a week or so, I received a, letter from the, management office, stating that it was, dismissed and that they were, waiving the, fine based on the, documentation.
How you receive the letter via what?
I can't remember whether it was
You
by
didn't
mail or
have
email, but I can find it. I think I have a hard copy of that.
Why don't you give the word to the lady that's drying already half an hour?
May I say a few words, please? Everybody knows me, Matilda, 1422. I just got back from being away for a very long time, but still trying to track what's happening. I have a question to the attorney. And it's my understanding you are protecting the association, and I have, at the moment, in this speech, there is no right or wrong. I'm not on anybody's side. I just have a question. If the policies and procedures are written black on white, this is our Bible that we must follow. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, of course.
Correct. If the fine has been assigned, and regardless who uttered his opinion or recommendation or something, if the person in charge to make the decision did not make a decision, and there is no written black on white what this fine waived or not, what does it mean that the waive is still, the fine is still valid? Is that correct, sir?
Well, I've already answered that without a waiver, the fine should still be active, but there are other implications that I really can't get into right now.
Okay.
Given what has taken place, first of all, with regard to the animal upon which the fine was imposed, okay? Secondly, with regard to actions that have been taken on the association's behalf subsequent to that unratified board decision. So there are things I need to talk to the board about as to what they may want to do or not do, and what the consequences may be of taking one approach or another, because there are potential consequences.
Okay, I understand. So in that particular moment, the fine is valid because
I'm not
it's
saying-
Doesn't mean
or it's under question, is it? But it's valid. The fine, but it's still under question. So the reason I'm asking is because wherever I go as a normal citizen, I have to have a proof, black on white, whether for my date of birth, driving license, whatever. If I don't have it, I have no proof. And as Mr. Millen says, in a legal language, if you don't have proof, in the face of law, it does not exist. So in my opinion, because I'm also running and put my application to become a member of the grievance committee, and I want to start on the right foot. If we have to follow policies and procedures, they apply to every one of this association, regardless of his voluntary members of the board or not. This does not give him any rights to be treated differently. So I am supporting Daniel's decision at the moment. Give it a time, like a month time or so, close the meeting and clear that before we proceed further, because we have interest to go further on Pierce, food. If Mr. Lebovitz's, fine is waived, it's fine, but it has to be record-wide and all association members to see it. If it's not fine, it's a different step to be taken, but you have to make a decision. Because right now we are just balancing
My
back and
fine was
forth.
removed in March of 2020. I received a letter stating the case was closed, that they accepted the documentation that was presented to them, okay?
Yeah,
I was on that board
yeah.
at the time, Gotti was on that board, Udi was on that board.
Okay. Hold on one second.
I just want to ask for the order, so we.
Hold on one second,
we have
hold on, give me a chance. First guy, and everybody, I want to read you guys the last comment, what the manager telling the board people. I need the board to let me know how they wish to move forward, and we will ratify this decision at the next board meeting. Now, I see over here, 1, 2, and we have another 2 on Zoom that was on the board. I'm going to ask each one of you, if you like to answer me, if you remember anything. Gabby, who was on the board the last time? You remember they waived, or we don't have any documents or anything, and I attend to every meeting. I don't remember it was in the agenda. I saw your opinion and I talked to you.
First of all, I don't understand why you do not pay the fine. Fundamentally, if you're being fined, you've done something wrong, and you want to be on the board, and you want to be the president, you should take responsibility, number 1. Number 2, no, I do not recall any discussions about waiving the fine. If I was being involved in the decision making, if I would waive his fine, I would waive his fine and her fine, and for me, it's a waste of time.
Thank you.
So from my point of view, as a respectful Maui to us, he should walk away.
Mariano, the same question I asked, if you want, you can answer me, if you don't know, if you don't want, I'm asking you, you was a member of the last board. You remember calling the meeting to waive this fine?
No, I am absolutely sure that it was not ratified in a board meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you open the thing? Regina, I know you usually telling me you're taking the fifth, so I'm asking you a question that I asked the other board people. You remember moving the fine from Marvin?
It's irrelevant. I received a letter stating that it's been removed.
No,
So
no,
you're
no.
now asking.
I have 1, 2 board people doesn't know about the letter.
You are now trying to force, okay, a reinitiation of a fine that was removed because I complied with the documentation and legal, discussed with the board.
I give you one credit. You enforced me to come to a boot camp, and I learned, and I exercised what you did 2 board meetings ago. What you're doing, I'm doing. You teach me how to behave and how to act. Thank you very much.
Folks, I would have asked the chair that if the decision of the board, if they even contemplated, was not ratified. There's no record of it. It's not on the meetings. I, like him, I actually got to come to the meeting. I never saw the board move to waive those fees. And these fines were initiated in February. First one, and I also want to tell you something, not for nothing, the board, Mr. Lobo, would talk to us, I believe. Mr. Blanch, you and I both know that when you're going to talk to the board, it's attorney-client privilege, because I've been on the board, right? And you can't tell everybody else. It's like when you issue a letter of advice, it's attorney-client privilege, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Lobo was just said a few minutes ago, it's on tape, that he received a letter from Nicole. Nicole is one of the attorneys, one of your partners or associates.
I don't know if he.
I didn't say it, or see.
I don't know if he
Oh,
said-
yes, you mentioned it. Nicole initially said in the letter.
I said.
Nicole Miller said that to you, that would have been malpractice, that law firm.
Excuse me, my friend, it's already called, we're going to release the
I
report.
specifically said that Nicole, if I remember correctly, was the one who communicated with the board on that matter. Is that right, Roberto?
I don't understand a lot of
Roberto, is that right?
He doesn't know, I don't understand a lot of things over there. I don't understand, excuse me.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Because I would like to answer the judge's comment. Whatever's recorded speaks for itself. What I understood him to say was that Nicole's communication was issued sometime around early March. I did not hear him to say that he was privy to Nicole's email. Nicole's email was communicated to the manager. If he became privy to it after it was given to the manager,
Now, Mr. Blanche, please, I've been dealing with your law firm for a lot of years. I've been involved in issues of litigation, both as a board member. You know, nobody communicates what's coming in a privileged letter, because you waive the privilege, as you well know. He had a slip because he is trying to bullshit this story right now that's not adding up. Respectfully, I request that the board have an attorney-client privilege excluding Mr. Lebowitz, and you talk to them about it. But you also make sure you tell them, because I saw the file, that numerous communications were sent to Mr. Lebowitz, both by letter and by email. And Vanessa can confirm that because she was initiating and sending those communications. And that was raised at the meeting when the sanctions were considered for Mr. Lebowitz. He had months of notification that he was not in compliance. So there's a history. So if we're talking about somebody dealing with the ADA, which I am very well familiar with, you still have to comply with the ADA. You can't simply say, well, I complied a year later, and therefore, you can't fine me for non-compliance.
I didn't comply.
Just like when you have an expired license, you can go and renew it, but you're still getting a ticket for driving along with an expired license.
I didn't comply a year later, okay? I got the dog in December of 2019, and I got the documentation in at the end of January. I was waiting for the information. Once I got it, I sent it in. It was a matter of 6 weeks.
I would like the board to make a decision.
We're not talking about a year.
I would like the board to make a decision. I think for purposes of tonight's meeting, I think there's a couple things, or multiple things that can happen. We can continue with this agenda, and if the items are passed with a vote of the board that is sufficient to carry the votes exclusive of Marvin, then we can continue in that manner. That's point number one. Another option is we could adjourn this meeting, have an attorney-client privilege meeting either tonight or some other time to discuss the issue of the waiver and what my thoughts are. But I understand that these issues you have on this agenda are pretty important. And so I don't know if, in the interest of the association's benefit, if we should not have this agenda done. I leave it up to you guys because you're well aware.
I'm offering a Marvin, and I'm sure all the board members are going to support me, not to vote in this meeting. It is. I want to you answer if you accept me. Not to vote, not to be anything on this meeting. Now, let me tell you one thing. I'm tired to deal with nonsense over it. We have huge issues in this building. I'm asking you not to precipitate only in this board. You know what's going on over there, and I ask you not to be involved. Here we resolve this problem, and I think it's a fair offer.
I disagree.
Okay.
Just for the record, the state, okay?
I'm asking
Hold on a minute,
you.
please. Nobody can speak with you, okay? We're going back to this issue here with the animal. There was not a year delay, as Mr. Milian alludes to. The animal was here December 7th or 8th of 2019. The documentation that you received was at the very end of January, the moment I received it. That's about 6 to 7 weeks.
But
Okay?
I don't go to read it. Please read this. What you
I then
are saying
received
inside.
a letter
Please read this.
completely absolving that I was in compliance, okay, and that the fine was waived. So, what you're trying to do right now, because the board did not ratify it at the time, is trying to reverse it.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Well, this is
I want
what
you to
you're
understand.
trying to do, what they're trying to do right now is reverse something that they never
They don't reverse
ratified,
anything.
that I
They
received.
don't reverse
I
anything.
received
If
a
we
letter.
have everything in record, but you have two board members over here, it was the last thing they said they are not having. If we have everything, I promise you, here in front of everybody, I promise you. I promise you, and my word is good.
If you would have asked
My
me
word
for
is
this,
good.
if you would have asked me for this information ahead of time, I would have been able to present it to you, but instead.
Did you ask me regarding Gilad? You came and told me, and you talked us over me?
Gentlemen.
We respect you.
Gentlemen, we're falling into an argument right now. For the record, the minutes ratifying his fine was approved by the board on February 20th. They're right here if anybody wants to see it. Why don't you have the meeting already with Mr. Blanche where you can talk freely about the legal issues outside the presence of Mr. Lebowitz?
The problem is, I don't know if he's going to move out, and how we're going to do it with a Zoom.
You don't have to, it's a private meeting. It's a.
But I have another board member, they don't attend over there.
Alex,
They are with Zoom.
Alex can put him on Zoom.
A letter to present, once I lay my hands on it.
A letter is irrelevant because the board action is required. Mr. Blanche already explained that.
Marvin, the issue is, irrespective of the documentation you submitted, the fine that was imposed wasn't waived by official action of the board. And so it stays on the ledger, technically speaking, without a proper board waiver. This is not to suggest that this board won't ratify that waiver, but as it stands right now, there was no official board meeting at which the fine was waived. I hear what you're saying. You received a letter supposedly from the association wherein it was communicated to you that the fine was waived. The ledger reflects the removal of a fine, so there was action taken, perhaps not supported by a board vote ratification at an official meeting, but there were communications made by the association to you and on the ledger evidencing the removal of the fine. Now, can that action alone bind the association? Probably not. For example, if Udi decides right now to start, selling everybody's units and signing deeds, he doesn't have the authority to do that. So the fact that there are letters or documents with those signatures or representations, those written documents in and of themselves don't serve to constitute what they purport to constitute. Similarly, it could be argued that the letter that you received was not a sanctioned letter because it was not supported by official board action at a duly noticed board meeting. And also that the credit on the ledger was similarly not sanctioned by an official board vote at a meeting, notwithstanding the fact that the information that was provided to me, and Udi could speak to this, is that there were email communications or some type of communication from the board members outside of the board meeting to the manager in support of the waiver of the fine. So what it appears to me that happened is that the letter that was sent to you and the removal of the fine from the ledger, somebody jumped the gun on that and did it prior to or in the absence of a board meeting to ratify that board decision. And it seems pretty clear to me that that's what transpired. Now, I have a significant amount of things to explain to the board members as to what my legal advice would be with regard to the decision to waive the fine, but I'm not gonna communicate that in front of you, and I'm not gonna communicate that in an open meeting. And we haven't noticed a board meeting to provide that legal advice, so if I had that meeting with the board, we would be doing so in violation of 718. And I do know that there is a board meeting that is properly noticed, which is the board meeting for which we are here tonight. In light of the fact that your eligibility to be on this board has been called into question and is debatable right now, I suggested we could adjourn this meeting and move on. I can have a meeting with the board and discuss the issue of your eligibility and what they're gonna decide to do. Or we can continue with this meeting because we do have a sufficient number of board members that can carry forward the votes on this agenda, provided that we do that with a sufficient number of votes to carry those votes, those action items exclusive of your vote. If you wanna vote and every other board member votes in favor of that item, that's fine. We didn't need your votes.
Give me 1 second.
So the point I'm trying to make is, if I believe these things are very important to the association,
Great.
irrespective of the discussion that we're having here regarding your eligibility, quite frankly, and the board has a decision to make. We either continue with this agenda, and you can choose to either abstain or vote, but if we have a sufficient number of votes to carry these items, excluding your vote, then, in my opinion, it might make sense to do that, and that way, the issue of your eligibility at this meeting may be a moot point for purposes of the items that are voted on this agenda. Now, if the board prefers to just suspend all of this in time, pending the decision of Marvin's eligibility, we could also do that. That's up to you guys. But, then we're gonna be delaying this action. So,
I need to bring the point, okay? We received an email from the management company saying that as of yesterday or the day before, masks are mandated in the building. And Mr. Leibovich is coming without a mask, not only today, also to a grieving committee, is making the law the way he wants. And this is another point. He cannot decide that he's not wearing the mask, and we all have to wear masks. If we receive the letter from the management that masks are mandated in the building, he has to wear a mask. And if he doesn't, then he is in violation of the law.
Mr. Blanche, Mr. Blanche, I would recommend not having a meeting. I know how important the agenda items are. You know I come to all the meetings. But I would really question having a meeting with a board member who is ineligible, who's gonna have the right to, by his own admission, he's gonna go in, he's gonna participate in the debate. I think that taints the whole decision-making process. Number two, I wanted just to tell you something. I don't think this board can non-pro-tunk the decision regarding that fine from last year. And I don't mean to talk inside baseball, but you'll recall the case of Renita Francis. She was the lady the governor nominated to be a Supreme Court judge. She didn't have the qualifications. Her attorneys argued that she could then take office when she met the qualifications. The Supreme Court said no. So if you're not qualified at the time that you run in the election, that cannot be remedied by action that is taken non-pro-tunk. In other words, if on the day that election was held, this gentleman had a outstanding fine, like any other person here, he did not meet the qualifications under Florida law.
And also consistency, because for the same issue, you can argue that it's not exactly the same. For the same issue, we disqualified the board member in a nutshell.
Correct.
Same.
He had a balance on his ledger, I have no balance on my ledger.
once we have a conversation, you will understand from my perspective why the issues are distinct.
Okay.
Now, Roberto, the manager would have not sent out a letter.
Why don't we go ahead and have a meeting, or at least make a decision?
I'm saying
It's not it's not the decision making here.
So I'm asking Mr. Blanche another question. So we continue with this. We continue and evolve. Any of these people can challenge the best.
First of all,
No. Let me finish. Based, if we find out he's not qualified and the penalty is appealed to. That's all I'm asking. I want to be protected by them too. You know what I'm saying?
My opinion on that is, he's an owner here. So he has a right to be here at this meeting just like every one of these other. Let me finish, please. So, if the decision ultimately is that he was not eligible at the time of his election to sit on the board, and therefore he has no place on the board, the fact that he's sitting in this room, and the fact that he said, I vote in favor of something, and the fact that he pontificated or said things or opined or, weighed in on issues is in my opinion a moot point, because every one of these owners has a right to voice their opinions on every one of these agenda issues. And they have the right to do that before the vote is taken on every one of these agenda issues.
Okay, you can say.
And they are all owners, and he's an owner, and so the fact that he happens to vote on the item is not going to invalidate the action that was taken here, provided that there were a sufficient number of votes beside his to carry the action item. Understood?
Yeah, but who presides over the meeting?
Roberto,
I'll preside over the meeting.
Roberto, as we have items on here that were
Any
already.
board member can preside over the
Mr.
meeting.
Blanch, will you answer my question now, please, sir?
Roberto, as we have items that are on here that have already been done, okay, by outside outside agreements via yay or nay emails, okay, and that are just going to be ratified now, is the same issue as the property manager at the time, Terry, sending me a letter stating that the board has made a decision not to move forward, and they're accepting documentation based on council's advice, and the fines are being removed, okay? She would have not sent that letter out if she did not have the communication from the majority of the board. It's the same way as we would not be ratifying certain items on here that we've already done through email and conversation exchanges.
See, this is untenable. We're going back to the same thing.
Yeah, let's move forward or turn.
Listen, this is an important legal matter. I think the board should adjourn and have a private meeting without Mr. Marvin advocating for his position. I know it's a good
And Mr. Blanch, could you please tell us, are you here? Who are you representing? Are you representing us, the members, or are you representing Mr. Lebovich? What, we have, please allow me, please. We have sensed that there's a conflict of interest in terms of the advice that you're providing to the association's member and to Mr. Lebovich. Do you represent him at some point, and therefore there's an attorney-client privilege, or just for clarity, or whether it had to do with
to once and for all answer your question again, because you've asked it in other times as well. I do not represent Mr. Leibowitz. I represent the association, and I believe that the comments and the opinions and the counsel that I've been giving at this meeting and prior to this meeting have always been consistent for the interest of the association. And you're entitled to your opinion, and if you want to disagree, by all means, feel free to entitled your opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are having somebody that's here.
I have an idea in order to continue. Let's invite Mr. Marvin to sit around here, like a common property, and let's go, and that's it. And he's out till he's finished out with it, and we continue. We cannot waste 20 hours the same story once and again.
That's a decision for the board to make. That's not.
You're attempting to reverse the decision that was made going back.
I don't think
February
anybody. I
2019.
don't think
Alexandra,
anybody.
Alexandra, you there? Alexandra? Guillermo? Regina?
We don't have a quorum. We don't have a quorum. I don't hear anybody there.
Okay.
All I see is 3 people here.
Let me ask, there's something called Zoom and internet. Guillermo, Alexandra, are you there?
I don't believe Alexander was on the board yet.
So, I'm here, but everything is,
Okay.
it was, I couldn't hear for like the past
Okay.
2 minutes because the people speaking were far away from the microphone.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
not sure what's being asked of me.
Alexandra, do you think we should adjourn the meeting?
I can't, there is kind of what it's all.
Let me ask you, Alexandra, do you think we should adjourn and move this to other moments until this situation is solved? Or do you think we should move forward the meeting and solve the issue we have in hand?
I am torn on this, but I personally think that we should continue because the roof repair is very important, as well as these compressors. And I think that these are pertinent issues, as well as I would also like to have the building, know about the status of the 40-year inspection, as we see that this is a very important issue to South Florida currently.
Okay, Regina, what do you
Yes,
think?
I agree. Hello?
Okay,
Is anyone called?
yes, we're
Thank
done.
you, Regina, thank you.
Guillermo, what do you think?
I agree with Alexandra, 100%.
Thank you, Regina. Guillermo, are you there? Okay, Guillermo is not there, so what do you think?
What do you say?
No, I think let's continue.
So you have.
Let's continue and
You have
let's.
three, you have three, and it's and he say you continue? No, what you say? You continue?
No, I think what
No,
What do you say?
what should
Okay, let me explain to everybody. I'm looking at the agenda. Most of the things in the agenda, we already approved. And we ratified it. So I don't have any objection to continue. And we have a lot of issues to discuss. One thing I promise you guys, I'm on top of everything. I really want to continue because everybody is there with what's happening in Southside. And we have the new rules coming from the city. And it's two things to approve it, and it's been approved. We ratify them. We want to update you on the capital issues and the 40 years. So I respect all of them, and that's what I'm telling you. I don't see anything over here is getting important voting. So it's going to make a big decision. Most of the agenda, if everybody looking, is discussions. And because of this situation, I not feel comfortable, but I want you guys to know what's going on. But I promise you, we're going to call a board meeting, a closed board meeting. I'm going, and I know I got the support from Mariano and Alexander and everything, to a closed board meeting. We're going to call it tomorrow, we follow the order, and we do it this week. You agree with me, Mariano?
Yes, it's still possible.
Ask Alexander and ask
I am definitely available for a closed board meeting because there's any questions that I have that my knowledge is. I want to learn as much as I can to help the building as best I can.
Regina, do you agree?
Regina, do you agree?
The question, Regina, just in case, the question was to have a closed board meeting later on the week in order to discuss the eligibility of market. But today, to continue moving forward with the issues we have in the agenda.
Right now, this meeting is completely out of order. We have approval of minutes to go through, and we have items on the agenda to go through.
Excuse me, Mariano.
Now that we have a call of order of those present, there's a motion to be made here to approve the minutes of the following meetings.
Let me make a suggestion. I don't even think this is illegal, I don't think this is legal advice, but this is probably more a suggestion. Maybe another board member gets appointed just to chair the meeting, to run through the agenda, so that these important action items can be taken and the discussion can be had. And that way, we don't deal with all of the other commentary regarding your eligibility, and the affairs of the association can get moved forward, while the issue of your eligibility gets resolved when I meet with the board members and have that discussion with them. That would be my suggestion. You know, the board, I think, would have to do what they do.
I think we're more than fair. And the only thing we're doing here is to respect those people.
Roberto, what was your recommendation?
I believe, can you hear me? Regina, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, my recommendation is that if the items on the
Listen, I
agenda,
have no vote. They have no.
if the items on the agenda, if they are important items to go through,
Yes.
my recommendation would be for the board to go through this agenda, making sure that any votes you need to take have at least 4 directors voting in favor of them, other than Marvin. If Marvin wants to vote as well, that's fine, but at a minimum, you have 4 board members, exclusive of Marvin, voting on them. That way, if there's any question about his eligibility, down the road, those items at least were carried forward with a sufficient number of votes that did not take Marvin's vote into account. That's one item. I also think that there are, hold on, I also think that there are other items to discuss on the agenda that may be important to the membership, and so it may be a disservice to the unit owners to adjourn this meeting and not go through those items, which are informative items that I think the unit owners may have an interest in learning sooner rather than later. And then what we can do in the next few days, when we have the opportunity to properly notice it, is have a closed board meeting, excluding Marvin, at which point I can counsel the board members as to the issue of the fine and the waiver of the fine. Okay?
Who is the fine against?
The fine is against Marvin.
The inaudibility of this meeting.
Guys, excuse me, people, please. The thing is, when you're on the other side, when you're on the Zoom side of this, every time there's echo and background noise, it interferes their ability to hear as well. So the acoustics are not very good. So let's try to. Regina, the discussion has been.
Yes. So so who did that with your recommendation?
My
To
recommendation.
continue with this meeting and vote on the important contract reviews and the other matters. And then we'll notice a closed meeting for the other, incident or whatever it is. For the fine, violation, I don't know what.
All right.
I want to ask.
I'll go with your recommendation.
Okay, I want to ask. No problem, no problem. I want to put, if I can put a motion to call for a closed meeting for this
I
coming
don't
Thursday.
understand one more thing.
So we don't have to receive and ask any question. I do it, I want to somebody put a motion to call for a closed meeting for this coming Thursday.
It would have to be, you need a minimum of 48 hours, technically 72 hours.
So it'll be a Tuesday, so Friday.
So it would have to be either Friday or into Monday?
I want to make a motion to call for a closed board meeting for Monday next week. And I like to ask my legal if he's available for Monday.
Yes, I am. And we can do it 10 o'clock?
We prefer later because we are working people as late as you can.
Okay, so we'll schedule a time and we'll send you the notice tomorrow.
Can you send me,
Yes, I said.
Discussion by the board members? No discussion, all in favor?
I am in favor.
I'm in favor?
Alexandra?
Can I just ask whoever, I hear a clicking noise, if it's the pen that's clicking, it's interfering with the audio.
Yes, there was a pen clicking. Danny made a motion to have a closed board meeting on Monday. Mariano seconded that motion. There wasn't any discussion. And
I will be unavailable on Monday,
What day will be available?
Friday. This Friday.
Okay, Mariano, is good for you Friday?
Yes, let's do it 4 p.m. Right.
No problem. Alberto, you okay with phone?
we'll make it happen.
Ask Regina and ask Regina. Only
Regina, are you in favor of having the board meeting for Friday at 4 p.m., which will be a closed board meeting to discuss Marvin's eligibility pertaining to the removal of his fine, or the failure to remove his fine, whichever way you want to look at it, from the lender. That's what will be discussed on Friday. Regina?
And I'm available on Friday.
You're in favor?
You are available. Are you in favor of the motion? You vote in favor.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, is Guillermo there?
Yes.
We got your vote. Thank you, Regina. I'm asking if Guillermo is on the call.
Who is Guillermo?
What?
Guillermo.
Vice President.
This is a joke. Who is Guillermo? I never saw him.
Okay.
We just talk about
someone.
Okay, let's continue.
Was on that board at that time. Why don't you ask him what his response was? Do you want to state your response?
Marvin,
Let's close this and let's move forward. I mean, we're gonna continue doing this.
Cannot understand the word.
Come on.
okay.
Let's continue.
Udi,
No, let's move forward. No, that's it. Yes.
I'm in favor.
Okay, so the pass, we're going to send the notice. Who you have the information you need?
Can we move forward, please? Okay.
In favor, Danny, Mariano,
Regina and Alexander.
not everybody. Danny, Mariano,
I just heard Guillermo's voice, so I think he's on the call.
Alexandra, Regina. Guillermo right now is in the phone. We got the majority, so if Guillermo wants to say something.
Guillermo, do you vote in favor of the closed board meeting to be held on?
He'll be available.
You are available. Do you vote in favor?
And he didn't have, he had the door.
Guillermo, do you vote in favor? Yes or no?
Why you didn't raise?
Communication is very bad.
They say, I don't do the F, I don't raise the
So
file.
we have 4 votes.
We have four.
Let's move
We have
forward.
four.
Let's continue. Let's have
Let's continue.
Do you want to, who's going to be the chairperson of the meeting? Does the board want to pick somebody else so that we don't have this?
Mariano, he's better English than me.
excuse me. Prior to getting on to that point, Udi, are you still with us?
I am.
You were vice president of the board at that time.
I all in my interest. This is improper. You're putting the question
Please state
on
your
the record that
please state your recollection.
this is conflicting.
I can tell you,
Mr. Vice
Please
President,
stop this,
please
please.
state your recollection of,
It's already decided in the plan. Please stop this. He's putting the plan on the
Okay, first point on the agenda is going to be the approval of the last meeting's only.
Communication very bad. Get off.
We need to vote for.
Come
Okay,
in.
so the first point
Since you brought this up,
is,
Moody
okay.
was the vice president. Moody, please state your recollection
Now we
of the events
Okay,
that took
are you
place
ready? Let's continue.
to send that letter out to the board.
This is improper. This is improper.
The approval of the last
We
meeting.
already decided and already
You have,
had a
you have
discussion.
two, you have 2 minutes to approve. One is from Wednesday, June the 2nd, where I can read it if someone wants me to. And the second one is for Thursday, July 8th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
The board members have copies, can we
Yes,
have
yes,
copies?
yes, I got some question, okay?
Okay,
Uh,
which one?
which is was the board meeting when we remove Eli? Which one is this?
The June 2nd.
Which one?
It's page 2.
Which one is the June second? I know what I'm doing, please.
Yeah, we are on the.
Madam Secretary Regina and Udi. I'd like to know who draft this minute and who wrote this minute before we vote and approve them. And I want it to be on record, my question.
Ask the question.
What? Is this a question for me?
Question for you and Madam Secretary.
Yes, who drafted the minutes?
Huh? The minutes were drafted by me.
Okay? And any lawyer from our legal team or different lawyer review these minutes or give you opinion on these minutes.
The minutes were sent, as soon as they're drafted, they're always sent to the entire board members.
My question is, it's sent to any legal, to any lawyer.
No legal opinion was given with regards to drafting the minutes.
Not a problem. I want this to be on the record. My reason asking this question, I saw a bill from a different lawyer. Like him, a different lawyer, his name is Grossman, charging, one is idle, checking the minutes. So you're telling me nobody checked the minutes and nobody is. I want it to be on the record. Why are you please continue with the minutes?
Okay, somebody, does anyone wants to ask to read the minutes?
Please read it for when it's
No,
done.
no, you come there, if nobody wants
Okay,
Please read it. Please read it.
Okay,
Go ahead, Mario.
okay, let's go. So Wednesday, June 2nd, board members present were Regina Goldfein, Alexandra Karmieski, Marina Magdo, Daniel Epstein, Marvin Lebovitz, Guillermo Seifer. Also present Udi Manor, which is the manager, Vanessa Pena, assistants, and Roberto Blanche Liga. Meeting was called to order by Roberto Blanche at 2:02. Establishment of quorum, established, members present at the time of roll call. 2 additional members shown 2 minutes after. Proof of notice posted on 5/31/2021. New business. Point 1, removal of officer and appointment of new officers. Regina Goldfried and Marvin Lebovitz joined the meeting with Councillor Greg Grossman at the management office. Mr. Grossman identified himself as the higher association councillor. Daniel Epstein indicated that the association attorney is Roberto Blanche and he had no knowledge of who hired Mr. Greg Grossman. Mr. Grossman stated that due to not properly noticing this board meeting and not having 4 members voting on the agenda, meeting was invalid. Roberto Blanche, association attorney, pointed out that since everyone showed up to the meeting, the failure to get 72 hours notification to board members was a moot point. A discussion took place on Eli Dierchman being found over 90 days delinquent on his account and subject to immediate removal from the board of directors. President Marvin Lebovitz declared the board meeting invalid. Adjournment, Marvin Leibowitz made a motion to adjourn, Regina Goldstein second, Roberto Blanch, open vote for adjournment, Regina Goldstein, Marvin Leibowitz, Guillermo Seifer, and Mariano Magro voted in favor, Daniel Lepsen and Alexander Karniewski not in favor. Meeting adjourned due to the majority at 2:37 p.m. That was Wednesday, June 2nd. Thursday, July 8th.
I would suggest you ask for a motion to approve those minutes. Is there
Okay,
a motion to
one
approve those
I
minutes?
put the motion to approve these minutes.
Is there
Is there
a
a
second?
second?
Mariano seconds?
I second it, but I also don't request that the person speaking when they're reading, get closer to the camera for the people that are on Zoom.
No, Alex, I think the camera is not showing on the, it's not showing,
Right there, Alexandra.
the head table. There you go.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Okay, all in favor of approving this meeting?
You're in
Any
favor.
accident?
I'm in favor.
Alex, are you in favor of the motion to approve the June 2nd meeting minutes?
Yes.
Regina, are you in favor? Guillermo, are you in favor?
Sorry, I haven't been able to understand a word. Very bad.
But you have the meeting, that's right, Guillermo?
You have the minutes of the June 2nd meeting, Guillermo, right? Guillermo, can you hear me?
That's our vice president. Nobody saw it,
Thank
and except to be a vice president.
Guillermo,
We're gonna be here all night.
and Regina, do you guys vote in favor of approving the minutes of the June 2nd meeting of the board? Those minutes were provided to you with the meeting notice package.
Is it a
Sorry, I cannot hear.
Okay, abstain? To continue?
No, you need another one, that's the
We
beginning.
need two more votes.
Why, we have three, we need four, we don't carry four.
Regina and
Alexandra.
Alexandra voted in favor, yes.
Yes, we need one more.
Regina, can you hear me? Regina, are you on mute?
Guillermo, did you receive the meeting in the package that Vanessa sent? Guillermo? There it is. Guillermo?
I'm lost, I cannot hear anything.
Guillermo, you don't hear this? You don't hear me speaking right now? Regina, do you hear me right now?
Hello, is anybody calling me?
Yes, Regina, can you hear us? Hello?
Hello,
Yes, can you hear us?
this is Regina.
Yes, can you hear us?
No, you're very,
Okay, well, Regina, can you hear us?
now I can.
Okay, Regina, do you vote in favor of approving the meeting minutes for the June 2nd, 2020 board meeting?
Yes,
Thank you. Now, the next item is the approval of the minutes of the July 8th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I motion to approve.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mario. Is there a second?
I'm seconding.
Thank you, Danny.
And I'm telling you guys, this is only the budget, so.
Anyone in favor of approving those minutes? Regina?
Yes?
Are you in favor?
Yes, aye.
Alex, are you in favor?
Yes, I am in favor.
Thank you.
Mariano, you in favor?
Yes. Mariano votes yes. Okay, you wanna go to the next item on the agenda?
Daniel, in
Go to
favor?
the voting item, please, let's get rid of the voting item first.
Okay. So, next point on the agenda. AC compressors. Purchasing of 2 compressors for the AC system. Who wants to explain this? Woody? Or Marvin?
Udi, I prefer Udi.
Udi, can you explain the AC compressor issue, please?
Yes. So when the board took over shortly after, I was the chief engineer came to me and told me that for a couple of years he has been addressing the issue of the replacement of the coils with the previous board and the board. As soon as this board came into election, it was addressed with this board as well. Immediately upon finding out about the need for the replacement of the coils, we went ahead and we obtained bids. We had 2 companies that bid on this. A&P is the company that has been servicing our building for a very long time. They were involved in the replacement of the construction of the coils the first time that we replaced them. With the help of Eddie and Marvin, we were able to get A&P to give us a price that was much lower than what we got from York. And also because of the fact that they've been in the building and they know our equipment, it was the decision to move forward with that. However, the fabrication of these coils is something that takes anywhere between 6 to 8, maybe 10 weeks, sometimes even longer, especially now with the COVID, when there's an issue receiving parts and labor. So we had a much longer delay until we actually got the coils. Meanwhile, the board had to vote on it as an emergency, or we lose the AC completely, which at times we had in both towers, Tower 2 and Tower 1, lost air in the common areas. The replacement of the coils were finally completed in Tower 2. However, during the process, we also lost 2 compressors. So we had to order 2 compressors. One was ordered and installed. We're waiting for one more to be installed. And once that's done, everybody's going to feel the air in the hallways again. The delay, again, in this case, is due to the fact that several key members of A&P were contracted with COVID, and they're working on skeleton crew right now. So that's what this vote is about, to approve the compressors that were purchased after the replacement of the installation of the coils in Tower 2.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Is there any motion to approve the purchasing of 2 compressors for A&P air conditioning at the total of 18,500?
For how many?
1,800, 500.
18.
Thousand, sorry.
For how many compressors?
2 compressors.
And I think, if I remember, we have email, when we approved it, it was 4 compressors for this price. So now it's becoming 2. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We have to check the email. We did.
There were never 4 compressors.
Yes.
Original, when you sent us email, original, it was saying 4 compressors or 2 compressors? 2.
Two compressors, it was the original request, two compressors.
Two compressors, okay,
So, and the two proposals we have are for two compressors.
okay.
Yes, they were 92.50 each.
Exactly.
And it came to a total.
No problem.
So they exact.
I make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
I'm in favor.
Yes,
I am in favor too.
yes.
Regina also. Alexandra?
Yes.
Said yes? So the motion passed. Next point in the agenda is
It's ridiculous.
capital renovation. This is an update.
I'm sorry?
Who wants to give the update?
So this we want to make it
Go ahead.
Okay. The renovation. We all in agreement completely, and I think even the tenant over there. We have issues regarding the quality, and issues regarding the contract with Capital. We had last Friday a meeting with our legal team. And we got assigned, I think, one of the best construction lawyers in the market. This is for my knowledge in the business. And he is engaging right now with Capital to come to the table. That's the only information I can give you right now. Waiting for answers. But I assure you, and Mr. Blanch can assure you too, Marvin can assure you too, and the property manager, we're going item by item. Regarding Capital and regarding decision was made with the board people. The more general information I think I can give you is we do pass the budget and the assessment what we collect. It's not a lot, and I hope we'll reduce it so we build 1,000. And we're fighting out to get the best for our money. That's all I can tell you from my point of view.
How much the total comes on the final?
The total cost right now with the change orders, I don't have it on me, but I'm on top of it. Right now they claiming we owe them over $600,000. But let me explain you guys something. This project managed by 5 managers and by 4 different associations. We have our time to find the records, and everybody say, he said, who said? So we didn't know.
But
No,
let's
my
not.
question is just the total, okay, original contract, it's 1 page, plus all the adjustments made through the process, what is the final number of
I
the?
don't know, maybe we'll be able to.
5.4 million, 5.6 million, 5.7, just to give us.
Capital contract.
The final number that they claim, what is
No, okay, okay.
five, how much? 5, 4,
They are
5?
claiming to be paid $643,000. That is the remaining of the contract. And we are not paying in order to solve the pending issues we have.
Okay, but my question is, my question is, what is the final cost of this renovation?
It's going to be, the cost of the project is going to be $500,000 above the 5.4 that was assessed.
So 5.9.
Approximately. I'm telling you right now.
So this portion above the original contract is currently under.
It's about, if I don't remember, I think it's about $300,000 to $400,000 more.
Under what?
You know, so if original contract is 5.4 million and they claim 5.9, you're saying that there is 600, this difference about.
No. We say they claim for the lump sum of the contract and the change order, we owe them over $600,000. We have some issues, we don't agree with them right now. And this point, it's in the end of our legal team, and I'm fully confident with them because I know this company, the construction department, more than this, if you're watching the news, what's happening in Southside, so you can see the image, you know what I'm saying?
There is one
Yes, so-
point that is important, and that point is that there is a break-even point between the year you are of going to litigation with capital, and there is people here, Marvin and Danny, principal and Nudik, they are very focused on quality, so they want the things that are not correctly done to be redone. This is one thing. The other thing is that they have a good position because it's correct that we haven't paid them that amount that we owe them. So we are in the middle, and we are seeking to get them to the table to have a negotiation. So I think that we don't know exactly what's going to be the end point, but we believe that between that negotiation.
We got instructed by the legal team for some information, and I feel confident to leave it in their hands because it's to make a decision, it's what makes sense, to go to litigation or not to go. We prefer it for our benefits to resolve it on the table based on our legal.
But one thing is for sure. If we keep this fight with capital, they are going to lose money. We are going to pay more money. And at the end, the only benefits are going to be the colleagues of money.
You have a very lawyer.
No,
You have a very lawyer. And he can tell you.
No, Daniel.
No, I want to say
No,
something.
Daniel, I don't ask him.
No, I want to say something.
No.
I have a very lawyer. He can tell you what we do and how we do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, me personally, going not word by word, letter by letter, what is in the contract. And believe me,
I trust him.
believe me, one thing, if something done illegal from our side, you're going to be known. And I will be the first one, and I'm telling you right now, everybody can hear, to take action.
Okay, in regards to the capital work quality, with my absence, and I do apologize for bringing this to the table, but I want a clear answer now. The doors, which are that much off the floor, who will convince me that is a quality work and that is according to the code?
It's not quality work, okay? Although the doors passed fire inspection based on their sample randomly checks, that's one issue. As far as the quality of the doors, of not being properly measured on site and cut on site, that's another issue. We have an entire catalog of photos and deficiencies that have been listed for not just the doors, but everything, including wallpaper, other butchered items as well. The attorneys are in receipt of it. It's as thick as a telephone book. They're going through it, and they're going to make a presentation with Capital's attorneys, and we're going to see exactly what position they're going.
And regarding the door,
There are still serious problems with the doors as far as wind intrusion, etc., regardless of them passing fire inspection.
That is my opinion too, that they're way off, that's supposed to be.
That's correct. That's
before
correct.
the record, I tell you, this change order regarding the doors,
Who approved it?
they're asking for it. This change order and the cost, the additional cost, we're going to tell you what this change order cost this board. We'll give you all the numbers, but this change order signed illegal. I don't know, I don't want to get into it.
Okay, but
So that is out.
One thing.
I'll just give you this information.
My question comes to the point here. When obviously they are not quality gun job, obviously they are not protecting us against fire or smoke.
No. The doors legally right now certified.
No, okay, I have a question. On opening,
We won't be losing. We
if
won't
you
be
have a
losing.
fire in the room, how the corridor will be protected? All smoke is gonna go through, or vice versa.
That was
So-
pre-certified by a very reputable.
Legally the door is
Yeah, but they are
certified.
not, that's visible.
And the fire department went here and do the inspection. So from the safety point of view, I think no one of us needs to be concerned. From the quality point of view, we agree it was not done the way it was compromised with.
You know, from safety point of view, if there is a fire in the corridor, I'm not protected in my unit, and vice versa. If in my unit there's a fire, God
The
forbid.
fire department and the engineers we hired specifically for that is agree.
So what do you suggest me to do then? How to resolve that?
At this time, nothing. The attorneys have everything, and we have to wait and on their meetings and presentation with Capital until Capital is ready to sit down with us, depending upon what Capital's position takes. So right now, there's nothing that you can do to move this forward any faster. We're moving it as fast as possible.
But we will, in other words, there will be some solution, hopefully, after that they have to fix either door shoe.
There may be a couple solutions in mind.
Excuse me, President. Just respect the people.
I'm respecting
Look,
it.
I don't like this style. I don't like this style. Enough with this style.
Okay?
Enough with this style. Respect these people.
All along, okay?
Enough with this.
We don't have the answers yet as to how they're going to be resolved. There's a couple solutions in mind, but we have to wait and see.
That's my question. You are having a different positions that you want to find solutions.
There's a couple solutions to handle this situation.
That wasn't what I
I
said.
can't go into them at this time. We have so many items on this list, on this how should I put it? An entire encyclopedia of deficiencies. We'll be here forever. Deficiencies have everything to do with wallpaper improperly put on, wallpaper not being underneath base walls, not being prepped properly to accept the wallpaper. Okay, we have areas of butchered ceilings, of not being able to do radiuses correctly, of not being able to do rectangulars correctly, vertical columns correctly. There's a lot of issues there that have to be rectified that we want to see.
What I'm waiting to hear you say is the quality of the materials that we use. Like the base material is so insane to me.
We have material issues as well. There's an entire
Yeah, but that's the biggest
there's
thing
an
to me,
entire
the material.
catalog, as I said, of deficiencies.
Right, but
okay?
I'm not hearing you say the quality of the materials. Like that's the
I'm not giving you a
biggest
chance
part.
to get to that.
How about the $10,000 chairs? Like
We
what
have
about that?
several items quality materials that we find deficient. They're all
What about
capital.
the $10,000 chairs we run?
This is being done at this moment. We can continue the whole night, but we
This
should
can go
continue
on.
because
So,
there's so much. So I'm not just passing the next
those are
thing.
items that are.
We are going to have a lot of opportunity to talk about probation. Believe me, this is going to be a long run.
Mariano, but it's more important for us than to listen to 20 minutes rant of the attorney lecturing or advising Martin on his legal issues.
I don't know.
Why can the board address what is important for us?
I cannot understand you, sorry.
She said we had to listen to the attorneys lecturing us about Marvin's legal matters for over 20 minutes, and now why can't we have adequate time to have our safety issues
Because we are
discussed?
not going to pass 3 hours.
Let me end it. Every item what you say, it's on our list. I don't like to talk about it right now because how you call it, legal.
It's an open legal matter. It's a pending legal issue.
It's a pending legal issue and a lawyer privilege. I do promise you guys, me, Daniel Epstein, if I be on the board, I don't be on the board, every ticket item you mentioned is there. Again, I told you, these things from our side was mismanagement. The Delvista Towers Association is not a construction company, is not a management company. And based on what's happened over there, it's a lot of digging.
Daniel, in the interest of moving forward, is it,
So,
can
I'm
we?
telling you, we need to move forward.
Can we rest assured that you and Mariano will check on our behalf the issues that he has actually brought to his attention, as we have absolutely no confidence in Marvin. Thank you.
How you're dealing with this. Go ahead.
Okay, just my question.
No, 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 please.
I understand there was a video.
We're not going to do this because it's
Roberta,
not going
want to
to
give a quick synopsis of what you have in your possession and how you're handling it?
You guys, all of you, have indicated what's taking place. You had a report of deficiencies with regard to the work, which is a very extensive report. We can't divulge it because it's part of our work product. It's being communicated to Capital. We're asking Capital to sit down with us in a settlement conference or mediation. This board is, if there's one thing this board sees eye to eye on, is the claims of capital. Let's just leave it at that. With all the bickering that you see your board members having, they are all aligned on their desire to go after capital for all of the deficiencies that have been identified. So we can't hash every detail now. Capital is claiming that they're owed a ton of money. We dispute that, we deny it, we're challenging them, and they've been put on notice of the default, they've been put on notice of the defect. This is an ongoing process, and it is a complicated process for many of the reasons that Danny indicated, which include the different managers that were involved, the different boards that were involved throughout the process. And so it is not a clear and clean-cut issue. Suffice it to say that, trying to simplify it as much as possible, Capital is claiming they're owed $640,000 plus interest. We are claiming that their work is very substandard, and there are defects in products, in materials, in workmanship, and problems with change orders, permits that they didn't properly get. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so it's going to be a very extensive process that we're trying our hardest to resolve.
Next point, please.
Yes.
PH pool project.
Okay, Mariano.
The PH pool project.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Mariano.
Go ahead, Mariano.
Mariano, first, you have all the papers and everything regarding the pool project. I'd like you to call Mr. Milan, so he is a full team. Just explain them everything and let's move on.
Do you want to take this, Udi or Udi?
It's very, Udi.
Yes.
Udi.
Yes, Marvin.
You want to explain exactly where we are with the pool project and what the majority of the penthouse owners agree upon, and where we're getting, and open up the discussion?
Yes, so basically, we compiled all the numbers from the initial date that this project was funded. A letter was sent to all penthouse unit owners explaining in details all the expenses that were incurred during this period versus the initial contract that was signed. And we came back after the $100,000 that we received from the insurance company, the assessments that were collected and still are being collected from the penthouse unit owners, the fees to the engineering company, as well as the fees to the construction company. There is a shortfall of and a credit of $43,000 and change due back to penthouse unit owners for all the maintenance on the pool paid for the last 6 years. We have a shortfall of $39,000, which is approximately $3,900 per penthouse unit owner. So that's the number one issue that needs to be addressed regarding the pool project. As for the pool project itself, we are 3 to 4 weeks away from completion, but the weather keeps prolonging the process. We're in the last stage right now of waterproofing the pool deck, the pool. However, with the level of humidity that we have, as long as it doesn't go below 5% for at least 2-3 days, it's impossible to go ahead and complete this. So we're hoping that the weather will cooperate and we still can complete this project. Now, on another note, regarding the penthouse pool project, when this project initially, the penthouse unit owners were presented with permits. Those alternates had to do with things surrounding the pool, such as waterproofing the deck, the bathrooms, the sauna, renovations of the bathrooms, new drainages. However, the penthouse unit owners opted not to go with this alternate, and they were brought up again towards the end of the project a couple months ago. When they were brought up again, I emailed all the penthouse unit owners and asked for their vote on the alternates. We have 7 unit owners who voted in favor of going with the entire, with all the alternates, totaling $116,000, almost $117,000. We had 1 unit owner that wanted only 2 alternates, totaling $87,000. And we had 2 unit owners who did not respond to the alternates. In light of the fact that there was a majority of unit owners who wanted to go with the alternate, that now is brought before the board and needs to be discussed by the board, as there are several factors that need to be taken into consideration before those alternates can be exercised and the contractor can move forward. Number 1, we need to get at least 2 more bids and on top of the bid that we already have going this forward. Second, we do have the 40-year recertification coming, and it might be a very good idea to discuss this with the engineering company that will be selected to see if there are going to be any interferences whatsoever during that process. specifically with what needs to be done, on the pool deck. So these are two of the main things that the board will need to discuss before this thing can move forward. And then, of course, we will need legal opinion on this entire matter.
Okay, as we go to the end of the project in Miami, what is the money situation over there? I mean, if we have over and we have the money.
Danny, I just said that. We have a shortfall of $39,000 for the end of this project.
Just for the pool?
Just for the pool, $39,000, correct.
And they need to be collected, correct?
Correct. Each unit, each penthouse unit owner should be assessed approximately $3,900.
So what's your recommendation with that we put that to vote now?
No, we didn't.
No, this is not up for a vote right now. This is only up for discussion. We will put it up for a vote in the next board meeting.
Okay. Would you have something to?
Anybody from the penthouse have something to say?
Well, there's two of us here. I don't really understand why, 6 years we haven't had a pool and now we're getting additional monies when we weren't even allowed to review the original contract. Because I was at that meeting, and before it was signed, and I don't remember that you were there, Mr. Blanch, but I said, let us review the contract, and that opportunity was denied to us. And now we're getting hit with additional funds 6 years later. So, I mean, this is the assessment that keeps on asking for money. I don't know if there were change orders. I don't know what the explanation is. I don't think it's fair to us to be getting hit with additional assessments. Plus, we know we're going to have another assessment for the 40-year recertification. So I think the board needs to be a little bit more responsible in the way that they're spending our money. Up to now, some of you weren't on the board at the time, but basically, we just keep spending money and then we get the bill. So I don't doubt, Udi's integrity and what he's saying, but I mean, for all of the penthouse owners, it's not just a question of ticketing us continuously. And remember, for 6 years, we have not had a pool. And we've continued to pay the maintenance on that pool. So.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I know Udi mentioned that there were 2 penthouse owners that did not respond. What was the time frame of them to not respond? Did they not respond after a week or 2 weeks?
This does not really weigh in, Alexandra. This was a vote for the alternates.
Okay.
And those 2 penthouse unit owners opted not to respond, which is perfectly fine. I mean, this is why it was going up to a vote.
Okay, I apologize. That was my confusion.
Okay.
I remember we had a discussion.
Talk out loud so they can hear.
We had a discussion on the board, and I think Marvin was there too. Penthouse owner, on their monthly fee, they have like maintenance on the pool area.
Danny, I already indicated that I compiled the number, which is $43,736 for the entire period that the penthouse unit owners paid their money, and they should get a credit back for that. So I already did that. That credit is factored in there. I said that also at the meeting we had on top of the roof with some penthouse unit owners. I indicated that this money that was paid by them during this entire time is justifiably should be credited back to them. And it's there in the calculations that were made.
And the budget that you guys, that the prior board previously assessed for this, Udi, you indicated it has not gone up, but there's a deficit of $39,000. That deficit of $39,000 is attributable to what?
Okay, so basically what I found out, okay, when this contract was initially signed, and not everyone has that piece of paper in front of them. The numbers basically cover the costs that are involving the construction, mainly with Restore. However, when this was initially drafted, and whoever was in charge at the time never factored in the fees for the engineering company. And the engineering company are totaling $103,000.
This is a joke.
So after the adjustment and credit back to us by the contractor, and after the chargeback of the maintenance that Pepas unit owners paid throughout the years, we are still left with $39,000, mainly due to the fact that the engineering costs were never factored in this when the project was initially drafted.
Assessed.
Woody, what about the $100,000 that we received in the insurance settlement?
It's included in the account.
Yeah, but was that put in an interest-bearing account, or was that commingled?
What was that? What? I'm sorry.
Was it deposited in an interest-bearing account?
I think this was
Mariano can answer that better than me. Mariano, please.
We had that conversation in the board meeting when Terry was here, and she admitted that at the beginning, back in 2019, that was commingled with the reserves, and that was split into, but it was bearing interest as well, and that was moved to a specific account, which is where it is today.
But Mariano, my question is, why wasn't that money put in an interest-bearing account? I mean, $100,000, if it's put in a CD or it's put in some other money market type of account, would have accumulated interest that belongs to the penthouse owner.
It's a valid point.
No, you weren't here at the time.
Was it before your
I saw
yeah?
the settlement.
Yeah, was this before you became the treasurer?
So you don't know the answer.
Mariano, can you take a look at it?
Oh, yes, I can, for sure.
I guess we still need to have a board meeting to decide how we're doing it and how we assess and everything, and let's factor all the numbers and we get them the answer.
Still, Mr. Millan, from the moment we receive the money, it's what, 3 years, 4 years from now, it's going to be $5,000 at the best.
Mariano, the point is,
It's every penny counts.
every penny counts.
We are giving back 6 years of maintenance because we believe it's right, it's fair, it's okay.
But I heard Rudy say before a vote is taken, we're still waiting 2 more bids, correct?
No, he's
Yes,
talking
yes.
about,
About the other.
he's talking about the alternation.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But the
talking about.
people, with all the respect to the penthouse owner, they can recommend us, that's what I understand, we have to vote for it. Apparently, we have only one bid. I'm not going to vote if we have only one bid.
In one point, when you're in the middle of the construction, you pretty much need to go with the construction company you have. You need to validate the price somehow, but you need to go with them. Because if not, mobilizing the new company is going to be really, really tough. In this particular situation where we are today, they are already demobilized. So it really doesn't matter. So what Wood is going to do is going to look for 2 more bids for the alternates before coming to the.
But no decision has been made on that.
No. We are exposing the situation. All we know.
Igor, you have any questions?
So we can basically, still make a selection on the material, on the design too?
On the alternates.
On the alternates,
Is it
okay.
that?
Yeah, because it's supposedly, we were supposed to stay with the current, contractor, and then they were trying to rush us because we didn't make the decision on time, but now we can decide inside the.
Yes.
But the problem I have with that, I think Woody made an excellent point about the recertification. We don't wanna spend a lot of money and then find out we're gonna have to tear things out.
That's the next
I know, I mean, I heard
No,
Woody
but
talk
that's the
about it.
point. If you spend the money now, and then the swings are going to be installed there, there's a possibility that some of the new stuff is going to get damaged. So it's also being taken into consideration.
I mean, the right way, but I see, you have wall around the pool. If we do right now the deck and the waterproofing, and they're going to come and check the walls over there, and that's my opinion, but we have to be right now very careful, my opinion, because we're going to the 40 years, and with all the new situations, let's go down, and the next agenda, I explain you more why.
The bathroom renovation swap, you can do.
I don't think we should do anything until we know where we stand.
The deck is
with the
advised not to
recertification.
do anything on the deck until we have the recertification and they sound out the concrete deck. But aesthetically, the bathroom, you can choose to do it this time.
I don't think we should spend the money on that until we know what we're facing with the engineering firm. And my understanding is, and you all correct me, that Udi's already been contacted, engineering firms?
Yes.
The next
So if
We've
there's
already interviewed 5 firms. We're waiting for all their proposals to come in.
When the work is expected on the certification, when they expect?
let's go point by point. If there is not any further question about the PH pool, let's move to the next point, which is emergency roof leak repair, and we need to vote on that one. Can you please explain that, Udi?
Udi?
Yes.
Can you please
Emergency roof repairs, explanation.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Roof repairs.
Explanation on roof repairs, please.
Yes. Okay, so, in the past, several weeks, I would say, probably close to 2 months, we've been experiencing, roof leaks that, cause water intrusion to some of the penthouse unit, owners. We have, engaged with, a company called Cherry Roofing, who, have been, very good, very diligent, and, considerably inexpensive to, assist with, those repairs, which are, of course, temporary repairs, as our roof, will probably be addressed, during the 40 years recertification, and there is absolutely no need at this point to go ahead and embark on this entire operation of replacement of roof. As a result of those leaks, we needed to again engage with companies. As long as the repairs were below $2,000-3,000, we just continued with whatever needed to be done. However, there was a leak on one of the penthouse unit owners of penthouse units in Tower 2 that required a larger job, closer to $10,000, in order to cover enough area and prevent further leaks. We got 3 bids. One of them is from Best Roofing that for some reason gave us 2 proposals for 2 separate sections covering almost the entire area. And that totaled $10,370. We had another proposal from Restore Construction, that's the company that's doing right now the project of the penthouse pool in Tower 1. And their price came at $9,800. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, $9,800. And then we had Cherry Roofing, who gave us a proposal of $8,500. However, it's not about taking the cheapest. Cherry Roofing, gave us 1-year warranty, which the other two companies were not willing to do. So we went with that. The repair, was made, however, it may not be the end of it. And this is what, the board is voting on. So please, somebody needs to make a motion on Cherry Roofing.
I make a motion to hire Cherry Roofing for emergency repair.
I second it.
Woody, before you go, Woody, are all these permits being done, I mean, all these jobs being done with permits from the city?
I'm sorry, all these jobs are done what?
Are they done with permits from the city?
I cannot understand, I'm sorry.
Are all of these jobs being done with permits from the city?
No, the repairs are not.
So Restore Construction has a permit for any jobs that are done here. As for, the other one, the answer is no.
Well, shouldn't we be doing that in order to comply and make sure we don't have more extensive damage? Because water would be a very big problem.
We should, however, this was an emergency repair, and we wanted to move forward with this before any further damages continue. Not to mention that the repair itself did not require construction at any point where you would need a permit for it. It was basically a layover, and for that type of a job, you did not need a permit.
I'm very concerned about that, I'll tell the board. I don't know how many of you read the engineering report that was done in 2018 and the Surfside building that collapsed. One of the major problems that they had, and they had started working on it when the building collapsed, was damage to the roof. And water coming in and pouring in and causing more extensive structural damage. It's on Surfside, the city of Surfside's web report, or website, but it's a concern because water, one drop at a time, can destroy even a concrete structure. And I don't know that we should jump and start doing basically patchwork on the roof without knowing how damaged that roof is.
I'm going to the next agenda. The building is supposed to go in a 40-year re-inspection. We engage.
I make a motion to approve the,
Yeah, Danny, can we vote on that?
Yes.
And then let's move to the
repair,
which is, it doesn't change the matter if we need the permit or not.
I would suggest that you approve it, subject to them getting whatever permits are necessary for that work.
The problem,
Permits required for
I
this
don't
work.
mean if the government
Permits
requires.
are not required, they're not required, but I'm saying, if a permit is required,
It is
you
not.
gotta have it.
There's no permits required for this.
I understand that, but let them certify that, let them confirm that with the building department, that's it.
Yeah. Makes sense. So I make the motion to approve Cherry Roofing, condition to the verification that this work needs permit, is to have a permit.
I second
Okay. Who is in favor?
it.
yes, approve.
I am in favor.
I'm in favor.
Alex, are you in favor?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you.
Yes, I approve.
Perfect, thank
Okay,
you.
next point, the Shannon is 40 years of experience. Approved. Thank you, Sherman.
Thank you.
So Danny, you
Who's
want
gonna
to
talk about the 40-year?
40-year certification, we have interviewed 5 very excellent firms. They've all been out here to do walkthroughs, and we're waiting on their proposals now. Once we get their proposals, the board will go over them and make a decision of who we want to use going into the 40-year. To give you a time frame, once that's decided on and the engineering firm is selected, it'll take them approximately 6 to 7 months to move forward to permitting and all their plans before they even get started. At that point, when they have all their specifications, okay, it will then go out to bid to contractors, all right? And upon the engineer's advice as well, we will select the contractor.
Who selected the engineering firms, Danny or Mayo, do you know?
No, we didn't select okay, let me tell you. We got 5 engineering companies. I can give you the name if it makes sense to you. We got, I think, 4 proposals, general proposal right now. I think we're waiting for one more, it's called NV5. The problem we're facing right now, so for us to go vote and choose, is all those firms need blueprint for the building. We don't have. We contact the city.
Blueprint.
We contact the city, we contact
Blueprint.
Miami-Dade, and Udi can confirm. The next appointment, when we call, it was 6 to 8 weeks in the receiver since what happened in Surfside. We engage with
Firm expedited
company. I know them. And she said she can get it to us faster than everything. It's in the process. The moment we get it, and we're going to get it in PDF, all those 5 companies going together so they can submit us the proposal and we can vote. We all agree on this table before we make a decision. We're going to bring the engineering company, whoever we choose, 2 of them. We're going to have a town hall meeting and let them explain all the process and everything and this. I can assure you one thing, as long as I'm on the board, the association, if I'm on the board, not going to manage this job. We all in agreement to hire a professional institute to manage this job. Every contract we're going to sign, me, Daniel Epstein, going to forward it to the construction lawyer to get it approved. We're not going to go as long as in the board, what's happening with capital. That I can promise you from my side. But we're spending a lot of time. I mean, each meeting is 4 or 5 hours. We're all taking off from work and everything, but we cannot get the answer because of the situation. With the few, I went with all of them, and quote, few of them just did inspect our building, you know, went to the floors and everything, and all of them say, we are not in the best. The problem is they have to knock the walls and everything. Yes, the roof, we did repair, because part of the 40-year certification is to check the roof. So we want to do it all together. And it be a statement. We have to assess where we're getting the money, how we get the money. The last board actually stopped the restoration. And one line, we stopped it. That's all I can tell you.
I believe five companies we interviewed are really impressive.
5 of the best companies that there are.
Yeah, but you said that about capital as well, Mr. Levowitz.
Exactly,
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. I was at the meeting, you were sitting right there. You and Mark Braun.
But now we are three of us, we sit.
Listen, I'm not questioning your integrity. We were made promises before with capital, and it's been a debacle. The painting was a debacle.
I tell you one thing, to be honest. We have an offer with Steven Siegfried, and I just met Michael, and they are huge in this business, and I'm even going to ask a recommendation from them. I know those guys, you know what I'm saying? I know those guys, and I trust them.
And can we please let the law firm drop the contract? The last contract with
100%,
capital.
I say, every move, and me and Mariano and even Mark say, we're going to put on the, and I'm going to do it. That's the only way I'm going to vote for. We're going to put on the budget for this project a budget for legal. I'm not going to do a move in this 40-year certification because of this situation with no legal advice and no legal approval. I'm not going to take the responsibility.
And please don't waive 558 and don't waive right to a jury trial.
You better believe it.
Well, will it be paid by reserve or entirely from our pocket?
Speak of Margarita so that,
Will this new project be paid entirely out of our pockets, or it will get partially or totally covered by reserve?
It depends.
I don't think we have enough money in reserve to.
It depends on the magnitude of the project.
Certain items might be covered out of the reserve and the rest will be assessed.
Yeah, but mostly we don't want to end up with zero results.
Correct.
The way we're going right now, and the obligation what we have, I don't know if we're going to have enough reserve. I don't know what we're going to left off from this year.
I don't believe there is not a possibility. I don't believe there is any possibility that we don't need a special assessment.
We could often see construction taking place though on this project for at least 10 months to 15 months.
Yeah, but you have to make the decision now.
I understand that.
What do you think, you know?
You're gonna have a process of when you select the engineer, until you even get everything out, as I said, for bids, approximately 6 months' time. But the engineer's gonna need to prep everything before it can even go out to bids.
You're gonna hear about specs until the engineers take over the building.
Every engineer told us it's gotta be 6 months.
So Mariano, what you were saying is there's a likelihood, more than for sure, that we're gonna need a special assessment. We're not gonna have enough money in the budget, so there'll be another special assessment.
No, but my concern is this, that this building has become very expensive to live in, and with all this embattled, legal issues and all, so we have rising maintenance, we have no increase in the quality of the services. We have one assessment, now we have another assessment, and prior to the capital one assessment, we just finished another assessment on the pool or something. So I think that we should just be, more careful how we spend the money. I
Every
understand
single
the
building that
entire
goes
legal
through this process has to do it on special assessments. There's not one single building that has the funds in reserve to handle the 40-year assessments.
Yeah, but with all my respect, by knowing that in 5 years now.
Danny, please.
Danny, with all my respect, but when we know that in 2022 we are gonna go to a 40-year certification, just to start with, it's already done is done, but to start with, we shouldn't go with $5 million project before we finish the certification. And to be a little bit more precise, and I'm getting really disappointed, but in a good management, in the last 10 years, more money should have been going to the reserve, knowing what will happen with the 40-year certification. And really board has to start thinking what now services we have to cancel, remove, reduce, in order to start being more easy on finances on everybody, 400 people on this building. You know, it's become very burdensome for many people with increasing maintenance, with a special assessment for unnecessarily shitty, I'm sorry for the language, renovation, low quality, high expense, not even finished yet, and it's and we have to start thinking now differently. Now we have the $5 million that we have to pay. We have another special assessment coming for 40 years. We have to think about our safety. So now we have to start thinking, okay, we have to put probably our brains in service to think what we can reduce as a service, how we can change the service, what we can cancel for the time being. So everybody living in the building will be able to handle that and not to be told if it's become too expensive, just leave the building and sell your apartment. Because somebody told me this, just for being here that day, somebody told me, well, if it's too expensive, you should live here. And that is not what owners like to hear.
Well, we don't cancel amenities and services. We keep the amenities and services, okay, because that would diminish the value of the building. And had we not gotten to initiate the renovation, which we waited 18 years for, and we'd be waiting another 5 years for, 23 years, the building would be in a tremendous dilapidated condition visually.
Mr. Leibovitz, you excuse me, sir. You were the president for almost over 10 years, and you had the steward. You were in charge of the steward over finances. No, thank you, Mr. Leibovitz. Please, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you.
Changes to the building many years over that time before we got to an interior renovation. We took the responsibility to take care of water towers, of air conditioning, and other items.
No, thank you, sir.
Leading up to the interior renovation of that building. Nobody knows what the cost of a 40-year recertification is going to entail, because that's all based on the findings of engineering.
There's actuaries. Actuaries. Be familiar with the words actuaries, engineering actuaries, sir. Please stop. We don't want to hear you. No, go, stop.
Let's
Speak to what you know or not to what you don't know.
Please, get a job, then you will have to pay maintenance like everyone else, okay? Thank you. Oh, I have the resources. I have a retirement plan. What do you have? Tell me to get a job? I have retirement resources. Do you have? You need to get a job. Get a job and get all the resources of the association.
How we're approaching this, okay? You cannot diminish services of an association, okay?
We're not
going to happen.
But let's start thinking out of the box. We don't go to council service, but do we need Ballet 24/7 who is sitting 16 out of 20?
Why are we arguing with Marvin?
Of course. No, that has to be a way how we have to.
I think what she's saying.
Proposals are welcome. At the
I
end.
think the point that you're making is, why do we prioritize the renovation of the place as opposed to the 40-year recertification?
That's what Joanne, you're both right. You're absolutely right. It's called proper planning prevents proper
Prioritizing.
Blame the people who are on the board who voted for capital contracts.
Prioritizing.
Because we haven't done that. Now we have to find another way.
So that's why we don't. So that's why Mr. Leibovitz needs to go away. Go away, Mr. Leibovitz. And go away. Yes, Mariana, go ahead. Go away.
It's a perfect answer. We are in here, it's going to be 3 hours and 15 minutes. Out of the 3 hours, we had maybe 40 minutes of productive conversation in matters of the meeting. All the other was discussion about people. And we as a community have this everywhere. And we need to pay this fine gentleman over here to sit there and hear just for us not to hit each other. So that's one of the things that if we act a little bit in civility, we are going to be able to put the horse before the child. That's, believe me, and I mean here, I understand you don't want to pay more money, and that's perfect. But here is 433 departments, and one of them, or a portion of them, wants the flower, the ballet. Others can get rid of the ballet, and between all of that, we need to make decisions. And boards over here make decisions. So wait. So this board here, for sure, we hear you, we hear all the people, and make decisions. So in order for us to do that, let's start from not throwing rock at us, because we are working for you. You can be agree with me, you can not agree with me, that's perfect. And all the things we do here, this board and the previous board, at least it's the two boards I was sitting in, is people looking for solutions with the best of their abilities, with the best of the intellects and their efforts.
Mariano, with all due respect, please, sir, what we're saying is that it's not really a discredit. We have actually, as you know...
No, I am saying the board. What I'm saying is
we have suffered a lot.
Dilapidating resources.
Correct.
Right.
So we are asking you, minus the person who has actually been a part of our financial hurt for how many years. That's what's aggravating for us. So we're asking you, the residents here, let's review our finances. Let's review our expenses, which I believe that you are doing. And we're actually more confident of the fact that if you say to us, we are doing that without this person sitting on that side, that has been actually taken a hit out of our resources. That's all the residents.
I
It's the best use of the
You're saying you're doing everything, you're saying you're doing everything. I think we have to put out to the open that we have to find a solution to reduce ongoing maintenance costs so we can find money to cover up or put more money into the reserve to offset the cost for the 4 years certification and to minimize possible another coming special assessment for everyone. So solutions will be probably different kind of service of security, maybe reduce mailing, maybe dismounting, and then come up with solution how you can reduce that and put it out to vote of this ONR of these 400 people living here. So because we pay the money, put it on the vote for everyone. I understand you do
Please. Your guys, and I love you all, and you know this, you're looking for a change. You're looking for a change, how to do stuff and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm blaming on us. I was 7 months ago in the outside, and I tell you why. You want to change? You want to help? Step in. What's happening? 450 people in this building, only 150 vote, and the same people run this all the time. I don't have a coalition, I don't have anything. I need your people to help me step in, and we do the change. That's the bottom line of it. That's realistic. You want to change? I'm not screaming. I want you. I welcome you. You want to change? You want a different thing? Step in. I stepped in.
No, you get me all wrong.
No, I'm not getting you all wrong. I'm not getting you all wrong.
I'm not blaming you.
Excuse me. I know you know. I'm asking you guys, begging you guys, step in.
The others that are not here.
If you want to reduce services and so forth, let me give you a good example. We could become, in no time, like Coronado. Both these associations came out of the ground simultaneously at the same time. Okay? Coronado at one time, they had security at their front gate. Okay? They had security in each one of their 3 buildings in the lobby, and they had valet in each one of their buildings in the lobby. Over the last several years, okay, they've reduced their services, where they eliminated security in each tower, then they first eliminated valet, then they eliminated security, and then they went to strictly a key entry system. All right?
Your statement is false. I have a property there, it's false. And this is the side. It's a false statement.
Standards and
You're defaming the association next door. It's a lie. Some of us are lying.
Residency that has basically put the association into bankruptcy. They have between 3 towers and townhouses there, about 900 units. Their maintenance is higher than ours here, and their services have been diminished from what was originally built as a luxury class building to just decrepit at this point.
I hope Coronado hear what you're saying. I hope they do.
Services that you're recommending, we would fall within 2 years' time into the same position as Coronado.
Martin, I don't wanna make the whole story short, and very, very quick comment. I don't go against him or Mariano or you. I don't apologize if I sound like I'm attacking you. All I'm asking you to try to find a solution and put it out to the vote, and I trust that you can come up with the best possible solution to keep the quality. I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying that there is options that we can go around, even for time being, just to handle.
We have looked at all our options when we sat down with our accounting to do the budgets. We exhausted everything.
And we increased the minimum cost.
Mariano, I think you understand. I think that understands. But look, we've had people on the board before Mariano and then who were reckless. I mean, we have what, $500,000 in change orders from capital? More. And you know, that's the kind of stuff that's been going in. Proper management, proper leadership, and people who know what they're talking about instead of justifying themselves.
You have a vice president. I don't know if you know anything, but he took the position. They vote for him.
Thanks, Marvin.
I don't care what you say about it. This guy wants to sue me. This guy wants to sue me.
We have a previous board and a manager prior to the previous manager that spent $100,000 on bringing in a water restoration company, okay, which we were totally ripped off, something we never encountered in 30 plus years in this building. We had a board that approved $20-some thousand in permits to do a line of restoration. I wasn't on those boards.
And we have a board member signed $300,000 change order, not authorized, leading to $50,000 engineering. Who knows how much we spend in oil fee, and we don't finish it. So don't give me stories.
Is there any question on the 40-year certification before we close the point?
No, I don't know.
I know.
So the next point in the agenda is appointment of the grievance committee. We have 5 people that propose themselves. One is Sandra Samuels from 1214. I'm going to just name them. Daniel Salomon from 2418. We have Alberto Salzberg for 1827. Edward Rosinski from 528. And Matilde Ivanova.
I want to make a motion. And one vote to approve all of them. And one vote to approve all of them.
Okay, I second the motion.
Are any of them married or cohabitating with board members?
No.
I make a motion to approve all of them. And second,
On the panel, we have a panel for 3 plus 2 alternates. So I think we should vote to have 3 as the panel members and the alternates separately.
I think I give this privilege to the manager.
Well, but the question is your.
All of them do the same. And you need to come.
But it's a 3-person panel or it's a 5-person
I
panel?
go for 5.
It is a 3-person panel with 2 alternates in case somebody needs to fill in for somebody.
But why can't it be a 5-person panel?
Because you can't get 5 people together. We're not having a kangaroo court here. Okay, 3 people on a panel suffices.
Margaret, her question.
So,
Let's try 5. Maybe we'll
You can't get 5. You need to have 3 and you need to have 2.
I think we're gonna get 5.
Let's get 5. We'll get 5. I think 5 is the proper number.
It could be 5. It could be 3. It could be 5.
The more than
doesn't have a vote in this agenda. It's between between the existing directors that are there.
Nobody shows up.
Or again, you're
Proceed
making-
without
You're
Marvin.
making one point, which is a good point. You think it's smarter to have a smaller panel with two alternates in the event that you don't get somebody that's on that panel that can show up, you can get one of the alternates to fill in. The lady's question is, why can't you have a committee of five? You legally could. Your point is that when you expand the size of the committee, it becomes more difficult for you to have a quorum attend that meeting.
It's
What would be
impossible.
more for a
Most of the buildings have a 3-panel, okay? Because it's very hard to get people to serve and people to show up. That has been the problem here. That's why the grievance committee over the years completely disbanded, because you
No,
couldn't
but
get
just saying,
people.
if you can have 5, quorum is 3. If you think you can get 3 people to come, that's okay. That's 3 people.
Doesn't the board just take a vote on that?
Why are we discussing what Marvin's? He doesn't have a vote in this matter. Mr. Blanche, please don't do that, because you stop the meeting. No, please.
I want to go home, I have enough.
Mr. Blanche, you stop to interpret kindly whatever Mr. Lieberman has to say.
No, he did not.
Paul, you're wrong. You interrupted me. Stop being
Paul, you misunderstood him. He said it's perfectly legal to have 5 members, and you go with a quorum.
He does a proper translation of what Mr. Lieberman was attempting to say about a kangaroo court.
No.
Don't start. Don't go there, Mr. Blanche.
Paul, please.
So it's the same thing.
John, I believe the 2 options are good.
I'll figure out what is so special about that. Don't go there.
Paul, please.
Yeah, it's either
You're
way, it
saying
doesn't really matter.
it's likely that you can get 3 people in a room for the grievance committee, right? That's what you're saying.
That's what we want to
So if
achieve.
you have 5
We want to
people,
achieve.
the
We
likelihood
want to have
of you getting
3,
3
minimum of
people
3.
is better than only having 3 and 2 alternates.
But the
Just
board-
make it 5.
Joanne is right. Would the board take a vote?
Believe me. Usually you are not going to have 5. People
That's
show up
fine.
the first time.
That's
and
fine,
then
but all you
they
need is
come,
3
then
to
it's
show
4.
up, right? You just need
In the
3 to show
past,
up.
we haven't been able to get 3 to show up. That's why it was
I
disbanded.
believe
It's very tough.
the people put the recommendation, I believe she's going to show up, and then Daniel Solomon going to show up.
Oh, they will show up.
But with
And then we're going to decide who's the hunter.
Danielle, who was previously on it, didn't show up after her first time. She never showed up again. Okay? Mariano can tell you that. That's the
Would you
problem.
just call a vote, please?
Okay, yeah.
It's simple. It's either,
Is there any practical advantage of having 3? Because being 5 with 3 you can function perfectly. You don't need the 5.
that's correct.
You want to be able to have 2 alternates in case somebody can't make it for an appointment time. Just
So
like
I
we used to
put
have,
all five of them,
just like
I
we
said
used to
the
have,
same thing right now.
just like what we have.
I said the same thing what you said.
What he's saying is, let's function with 3 and let's.
Why are they asking Marvin? Didn't we just vote not to include him in this meeting?
If you go with
Daniel, I don't understand. What didn't we just vote at the beginning of the meeting? We had a motion that it's improper for him to be as an officer of
No,
the.
I think you should have 5, because what that sounds to me like, you guys are trying to silence 2 of the 5. Because you're trying to give voting rights to 3 instead of 5. Give voting rights to 5, not 3. That makes no sense.
5 have voting rights, but you need 3
Folks,
to
why
show
are we
up.
arguing about this? Mr. Flynn said it's legal. Take a vote.
You gotta call for another person to be able to fill in. If somebody can't make an appointed time.
Why
you
not
gotta-
call all 5 and hope for 3 to show up?
If you have
That
5,
makes no sense.
I want to make it clear, if you have 5, 3 show up, it's a quorum. So what's the
Why are we
difference?
gonna vote
But
about
I can pay you $100 in the vote to vote.
Go to vote. I put the motion to vote for 1 to 5. You second me?
Yes, I second it.
Why is he
Yes. I'm yes. Then yes. You yes?
I say yes.
Alexandra, you say yes? Alexandra? She's not
What
here.
was the, line went fuzzy, what are we voting on?
You're voting on a grievance committee to be comprised of 5 members, a quorum of which would be 3, and the 5 candidates were included in the package of the meeting that you received for tonight? Mariano?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Regina,
Yes, all cards are very good.
Okay.
all time.
Done.
Gianna,
All cards are no.
Gianna, we have a phone.
Okay, do we have